That's a tough one to swallow. That's a really tough one, because it's like, why can't I be a better parent so you don't act like this? Why
It's
can't
not
I?
you.
But that is, I'm
That's what it
sure,
feels like. Right.
I'm sure other mothers feel the same exact way, and we should use this on our show because, am I recording? Yeah, I am recording.
Welcome to Harvesting You. Welcome back. We are living big and loving bigger. We are real and raw. And today we are digging in.
There's a lot to dig in. So let's get started harvesting you.
It's tough.
And it's upsetting. It's upsetting to get those phone calls. It's upsetting to be like, oh my God, this other child that you said this to, or person that you said this to, how they feel. Like, oh my God, how did you do that to? Like, you put that upon them. And Jack would do it just to get a rise out of people. Like, that's a tough one to swallow. That's a really tough one, because it's like, why can't I be a better parent so you don't act like this? Why
it's
can't
not you?
But that is,
That's
sure,
what it feels like. Right.
I'm sure other mothers feel the same exact way, and we should use this on our show because, am I recording? Yeah, I am recording. So yes, because as a mom, I always felt like I should know a way to motivate him, redirect him, trying to get him to behave in a healthier way to other people, because it's upsetting. It's upsetting to see a child intentionally act out, and intentionally not be kind, and just try to get a reaction. Just do stuff to get a reaction. Like, I remember when Jack walked up to our neighbor at the bus stop when he was maybe in first grade, and he walked up real quietly, stood next to her, looked up at her and said, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." And she almost jumped out of her skin. But so Jack does that stuff, but sometimes it's kind of funny and creepy. Mm-hmm. And he tries to do all kinds of things to get a reaction, not just negative reaction, but that's a little creepy for, a 6-year-old to do.
Well, a 6-year-old that was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. And as a parent, I'm sure that was embarrassing for you at times. And it's hard when other parents don't experience that and can't relate. And they're looking at you like, what is up with your kid? But at the same time, mamas, if you can just take a step back and recognize, maybe there's something going on there, because everybody has something going on. Because shaming that parent, or that parent feeling shamed, that sucks.
It does feel terrible.
You must have felt this big.
Well, that particular neighbor, she had known Jack for a while, so it was okay. And she just told me and said it was a little off-putting, but I was around so many other people who didn't understand, and the amount of parental advice that I've been given, in public, where, he would have a meltdown because he was playing with the trains at the toy store, and I'd have, try to leave any place where he didn't want to leave. And it was a mess. I would get so much advice from random people about what I should be doing as a mom. And I appreciate when people want to help, but it's not how they
don't understand.
No, don't understand. And trying to understand is probably the biggest gift that we can give to other people that we encounter every day. And empathy is the runner-up to understanding. It's like saying, you know what, I see you, and okay, it's not what makes sense to me, so I understand it's different, and then I can have feelings about that and give you some love and give you some, just positivity. Like my positive energy
Compassion.
can help you get through what it's going on over there. But
That is so true. That should be on a t-shirt. My positivity can give you like that force, that compassion to help you navigate other like people. I don't think that mamas, dads, like humanity truly understand that energy, the energy you vibrate. If you are looking at someone funny, or you're watching a situation with a kid and a mom in the store, and you are automatically prejudging because that's part of our makeup. If you can just press pause for a minute and say, oh my God, let me just send that parent some love and some space to get through whatever's going on over there. Because you have no idea what's going on over there. What you're witnessing is just what you're seeing and hearing, but you have no idea what's going on over there.
You're only seeing a few seconds of their entire story. Like, how can you judge? Like, think about a few seconds of your day and like the worst few seconds of like how I behave in a day, or how I do something, make a bad choice, or do something that I know I probably shouldn't do. And then the amount of judgment I could get for those 5 seconds, if that was made public, if that happened in front of thousands of people. I think with social media and everyone has a video, like has a camera out, like trying to record everything nowadays, it's really hard because a lot of those moments get captured now when they used to not get captured, and
you're only seeing part of the story.
You're only seeing a few seconds.
Those clips.
Yeah.
Right.
You're seeing the blow up. You're seeing the reaction for something that happened. You're not seeing the thing that caused the event to occur. And I mean, I see these, watching the news and people getting upset on airplanes and having fights and all. And I just like, I feel bad for everybody involved in that situation. Like,
right.
Because
there was a beginning. Right. There was a beginning and there was an end, and they're only showing parts. And you're right. There's so much pain left on that person who was just publicly humiliated.
Yeah.
We had IgG yesterday, and we're up to 75 milliliters, which means only 50 milliliters. You can only fit 50 milliliters in an infusion. So I have two, one with 50, one with 25. And she's on the one with 50. And I go downstairs where all the meds are spread out. They're all like in a clean space. And I freaking knocked the 25 milliliter filled up med on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like it was capped off, but I felt like such a failure in that moment. And my husband was there and he's like, it's okay. It's capped off. It's okay. And I'm like, and all these things went through my head. Like, that was stupid. I wasn't paying attention. I knew, I should have known better. Like I put myself down so many different ways. And it's liquid gold, right? And my husband looked at me and was like, we have more. If it flipped on the floor and it exploded, we have more. We have a month's supply, right? But in that moment, you felt like I felt like such an idiot. And I don't like that because I don't treat myself that way. I don't talk to myself that way. But when I made a medical mistake on somebody else's, you know what I mean? Like it was I was like, oh my God, that was so stupid. And then after the fact, like I felt terrible about myself for 5 minutes. My husband made me a Moscow Mule. He's like, sit down, relax. Infusions are stressful to begin with. And kind of like, you get into a flow, but it was just like, I needed a time out. I needed like a hot minute where it was like, mama needs to get it together and maybe just walk away. And I did. I looked around like, who saw that? I had that I'm in my own house. Nobody else saw that, right? Except my husband. But I did have that moment where it's like, oh my God, is anyone else seeing what I just did in this behavior? Like, did it just go live? Because I feel like a failure. I just,
That is
so I
such a
get,
modern kind of reaction to making just a like judgment error, not paying
a
attention.
mistake. Right.
And your husband did the most beautiful thing by being calm, understanding, supportive, and, giving you time to have a timeout, because that kind of nervous energy then leads to the next mistake and the next mistake and the next mistake. And trying to fix the first thing, I always find when I make an error like that, then the next thing, and then the next, because I'm trying to fix it, and
Nervous.
it just gets like, it just expands beyond like, oh no, it's like telling one little lie, and then you tell the lie to the lie. It just like expands, just like those little mistakes do. And I can feel that, like, doing something that is an error that would affect just me is one thing, but if it would affect my child, yeah, I would be in tears. But then
I had, after it was short, it was a short time, and I sat down, and I'm very much in touch with who I am inside of this body. And my body, my that space, that soul cell space just said, Aubrey, it's okay. You're okay. She's okay. I messed up. Nobody died. Nothing broke. You know what I mean? Like, what is the worst that could have happened? We would have had to redo 25 milliliters meds. Yeah. And I think it is like giving yourself that grace. Like, mamas, when we go to that automatic freak out mode, or embarrassment, or I can't believe my kid just did this, or, with the teenagers and the cell phones and the text threads, it's like, hey, there was this thread going on and talking about this kid. And immediately I'm like, give me your phone. And honestly, like, I trust my child that he makes good decisions, but that, like, I don't know, that like backup is like, give me your phone. I want to see this text thread. Like, give yourself grace, give your children more grace. Yes. Give Jack more grace in those times when he was in first grade, because he couldn't control what he was doing.
No, it was something. He didn't have the tools. He didn't understand truly the effect he was having on other people. He could see the reaction, and that's all he was going for. He didn't see what was going on underneath. Like, he did not pick up on, like, the emotional reaction, how it really affects people on the inside to say outrageous things and do outrageous things. He had to work really hard at his social skills with all kinds of therapy in order to learn how to understand other people, like, and say, not even fully understanding, but saying, this is a time when we can say this is a time when we can't say this. Like, he didn't understand why he couldn't say things at school, just anything that he wanted to, or do anything that he wanted to. He did, like,
emotional cues, that kind of, like, reading people, that kind of thing.
He did not understand. Now he sees, oh, there's tears. I see you're crying, you're upset. Like, but there's no subtlety he doesn't get subtlety with any emotion, or he just doesn't pick up on it very easily. He'll pick up on it the best with me, because he's been around me so much and I'm his mom, but he doesn't even pick up with his dad's subtlety. I have to explain to him, like, oh, your dad, today's going to be a tough day for your dad. I see the signs, and we need to give dad some space, and we need to not talk back at all today. Let's take, be really mindful of this, because he's going through a tough time for X, Y, and Z reasons, but it has to be, like, written out and explained and like literally explained to him just a lot, but then he does it. So that's the hard times. He learned a lot through those hard times.
Yeah, he's had a lot of growth, it sounds like, especially if you can explain it to him and he's like, okay, I got it.
Yes. And like, you know, back in when he was in like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they made up this character called Superflex. And it's about trying to be flexible and trying to be able, you know, they used to have different really interesting and cute ways of describing life things to, you know, little kids. And I always found these ways really charming. And I bought all kinds of books and read all kinds of stuff and tried as much as I could to learn about, you know, the world from his perspective, because it's totally different from my perspective. And that's really helped me as a person in so many ways, because through his eyes, I can see, wow, it's so different. It's so different in here in Jack's world.
I think that's such an important statement for all kinds of kids and all kinds of mamas and daddies. Like you can't talk to a 3-year-old like you talk to a 13-year-old. You can't talk to a 6-year-old like you can talk to a 10-year-old. And no matter what they're going through or what they're dealing with, or if they have a disability, I think what you're saying is so important to get into that world and have a supportive community and get into people who are like-minded going through something similar that you can run things off of, and witness other kids acting that in that way, or being able to talk to someone that deals with something like that.
Yes.
I think a lot of mamas like go into this little box and think, well, I'm embarrassed that my kid has this issue and this problem, so we're just going to ignore it and deal with it in-house. But I think that is putting a lot on you as a mama, and we're supposed to enjoy our lives. Even if we have difficult children, we can still enjoy life with difficult children. We just have to navigate things different.
Yes, we just have to be like diligent about being prepared and diligent about knowing the signs. And, you know, there's a lot of little extra things we have to do in order to do what is considered to be normal and regular and just every day. But it does take a little extra work, but it's so worth it. It's so worth the extra effort to put into our kids and to know them from their, you know, it just starts from like being when they're little, getting on the floor and playing and whatever it is that they're interested in, trying to experience a little bit of that, I think is really important at every stage, because the ones
bending down, looking in their eyes, like getting to their level, not always being above them.
Yes. And not disregarding their interests as being, oh, well, you're just a child. That's just, you know, just a video game. You can do that anytime. It's not important. As soon as we start saying it's not important, well, in the big world of grown-up land, a video game really isn't. It's not like food and water and shelter and all the stuff that we need. Yes, it's not important in that way, but it is important to them and in their world and their perspective. And so having a little bit of, you know, respect for that and not belittling their interests or what they're trying to do. And not say, oh, well, they just, you know, they're just doing a little something or other, like whatever the challenge is that they're doing. Like Jack's so heavily involved in speed runs, and I don't understand most of it, but I try all the time to sit down, watch him do speed runs, look at all the stuff that he's doing to evaluate speed. Like it's a whole world. It
creates conversation. It creates a whole different level of conversation and an outlet for them to be able to be like, oh, hey, she's interested in this. I'm going to talk to her about it. And then you like learn more about your kid. I think we talked about this in a previous podcast. Like learning more about your children and understanding like who they are, because they're not you and they're not your husband. They can be parts of you and they can pick up some role modeling aspects, but they're them. And they have different likes and dislikes, and that's great, and that should be supported.
Yeah. I think looking at our kids as being people and not our kids, not just
Mhm.
kids, I think is really important and powerful, because they're going to be grown-ups most of their lives. They're only kids for a short while. And recognizing that they're this whole, you know, soon to be on their own. Oh my God, why do they have to grow up so fast? I swear. Why can't we just like,
I got a quick story for you. And mom is out there, you're going to judge me for this, and that's okay. We shouldn't be judging each other. But I was proud of this. So we redid Ava's entire room for her birthday, and I put up this picture, like this plaque, and it says something to the, I don't know the exact words, but it says like, when you're having a bad day, when you're feeling unworthy, when you're feeling down, remember whose daughter you are, and pick up that crown, fix that crown or something like that. Well, Ava has to do 3 sites now, and that means 3 different needles. And the third needle, she started to shake, and the panic attack was coming. And I was like, we've got to get control over this. And Ava's 12, and she says to me, she's real quiet, she puts her head down, and she looks me dead in the eye, and she says the words, "What the hell? I know whose daughter I am. Let's go," and sticks the needle in. And she totally took me off guard for a minute, because she said the word hell, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, and I didn't know like how to react at first, because she put the needle in, and then I said, oh. And I said, you read that plaque I gave you, and it doesn't say that word. But she just was so passionate about like taking over control of her emotions. And I said, I'm not going to yell at you for that. It's not an appropriate word. However, you used it in the right context. So I'm just going to go with it and say, you did it. And I'm glad that you're proud enough to say, I know whose daughter I am, and I got this. I thought that was pretty cool.
I think that's amazing. She's doing a very, very grown-up thing and using a very grown-up word in the moment to get through it. I think it was very appropriate, and applause to her for digging in, and doing
That's what she did. She dug in.
Yeah.
And she was sweating, and we know what panic attacks look like, and it was coming on, and she was quiet, and she's zen, and then she just looked me dead in the eye and said it. And I was like, damn, all right. I'll accept that. I was proud after the fact. I texted one of my best friends, and I'm like, oh my God, this was the longest IgG ever. It was 2.5 hours of infusing, but hey, this kind of happened, and I can't say I'm upset about it. And she's like, no, go her. Like, that's freaking awesome.
That's a real big breakthrough in her like growing up.
Yeah.
It really is. That's one of those giant moments that like where she goes from being a kid to
the maturity statement. And dealing with your illness for so long, there's just a different level of understanding and a depth of who you are. And for Ava, she's 12, but her mindset and her mindfulness around her situation is beyond her years. So,
it's a big lesson in not taking your body and your health for granted, for really, really having that understanding and knowing. And I think a lot of kids do that, growing up, you take your body for granted, you take the whole thing, like being on this planet and being a part of it. is an assumption. It's not, there's
Mhm.
no consideration for, what will go wrong when things go wrong until things do go wrong. So,
Right.
I-
Yeah. You're right about that.
Well, I think digging in is really what we've been talking about today.
For sure.
Digging in and making things happen.
And being able, mamas, to allow the vulnerability and talk about it and be okay with things not being okay.
Yes. Yeah, because we can't overcome what we don't acknowledge exists.
That's right.
So
You tuck it down, it's gonna come up some way, somehow, devastatingly. So, having a village and a tribe, like we always say, I mean, this Harvesting You, this community, like, we're real, we are raw. We talk about our real life stuff, and we bring in people and we spotlight extraordinary mamas to help you feel like all this craziness, it's normal. Oh, hey, I experienced that. Oh, hey, I can relate with that.
yeah,
And
because
that's awesome.
we're all just trying our best, really. And sometimes it's good and sometimes things go well and we can be excited and joyful and applaud and share. And sometimes it's not going so great and we can say, look at that and share and try to get through it and learn and move on. And
Sorry.
here we are. So
I'm falling apart.
think that is a good ending to today's Harvesting You.
Agreed. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for digging in with us. We hope you continue to dig in with us.
And check us out on social media and talk to us. We would love to hear from you. We're on all the social networks, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And check out our website, harvestingyou.com. And let's put today's inspiration into intentional action and let's keep harvesting you.
This podcast is sponsored by A2D, Addicted to Dance Company. Check us out on the web, a2dance.com. We're a growing foundation, giving back to our community, and changing lives is our mission.